Terrorism is bad.
Welcome to the Hall of the Guildmasters. Neither of them know what the topic of the day is, but I'm going to pose it to you and give you guys a couple questions. Are you ready?
Bring it. Yep.
All right. In your role-playing game, incorporating improvised weapons. So,
I like it.
in D&D at least, 5th edition, you got a table of weapons players start with. You know, you got simple weapons, martial weapons. They got general dice. But what if someone's like, you know,
Chair.
I want to use a chair or a frying pan, you know, I want to punch that guy, but I want to be wearing a wedding ring. Does that give me a bonus, you know? Or maybe I make a Molotov cocktail and then I break it over someone's head, you know, like stuff like that, all right?
But I don't light it, not until after it's broken.
Yeah, boom. So how do you go about that, especially with the Tavern Brawler feat, where you get proficiency in friggin' anything, all improvised weapons. So you know, give us some thoughts on how to, not just ideas for weapons, but how to balance that.
Well, I mean, you can always add damage modifiers at your at the DM's discretion, at your discretion if you're the DM, based on the weight. How much force you think is being applied on the weapon? You know what I mean? If you've got a guy that's enlarged, by enlarged reduced, and he's holding a stone table, okay, somebody is gonna get hurt or die. Probably die, but probably really get hurt.
Here.
Yeah, I'm gonna set this
on you.
The good example was when in one of our sessions, my character got enlarged, and he was 12 feet tall, and he curb stomped a stone table in half. And then kick slid the table into 3 mages.
Yeah, that's right.
And they were in half.
Yeah, didn't you do something about like breaking the door and just smashing a bunch of zombies? Like,
I fell into them. I rolled really low.
That's right.
I blew through the door and fell into a horde of zombies.
Yeah, that's right. It was like their little pets in the sanctuary. Yeah.
But I do think that you can always add things. If you're a tavern brawler, you know when that's going to be useful. You know what I mean? If you're in combat and you're kind of flying by the seat of your pants and you're picking up stuff. But when you're in a bar, when you're using things, you know you're going to be using other objects other than weapons that are listed in the DM.
Chairs, tables, halflings.
Yeah, exactly.
His arm.
My arm.
Yeah. Your friggin' ally's arm? Just here, let me borrow this real
I need
quick.
to use your finger.
Brandon, I need to see this.
I think it would depend on how well the person rolled too.
Oh yeah.
And you don't have to get into specifics, but calculate some kind of force damage. If it's a solid object like a pillar or something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're swinging around.
Well, yeah, because you had just last night, we had our monk get enlarged and he charged, shoulder dashed, and then step of the wind into a pillar and knocked it on a guy, and that's, you know.
Yeah, and are they taking damage from that in return? No.
Are they living from that?
Yeah.
So what would you have the player roll in that scenario? Would you just, because I feel like if you said roll to hit, they would kind of look at you like, what is that? Like, how does that work in this?
I think there's different scenarios.
Yeah.
Like, say you're at a dining room table and you're ready to start a fight with a guy. He's being really aggressive towards your characters. And you've got a glass and you want to hit him with it. Well, how is the character going to do it? Is he going to pick the glass up and beam him with the glass? Or is he going to smack it at the guy into him? You know what I mean?
Right.
If you hit him like this, you might want to make a dexterity because
That might be like a sleight of hand.
Yeah, it might even be.
Or if you're throwing cards or something.
Yeah, but if you pick it up and beam somebody with it, that's probably strength.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So would you be like, all right, roll athletics or roll dexterity or?
Yeah. I think it's dependent on the situation and how the characters want to use those improvised weapons. If I want to pin a guy up against the wall of the chair versus smacking him over the head, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Or you like sticking through the chair. If you're sticking him through the chair, it might be dexterity. You might need to find that special spot that he's going to fit there.
Yeah.
Okay, so in those situations, how do you, some campaigns, unfortunately, like maybe some of the players there will have a little disconnect with the DM, maybe based on previous sessions, or they're just kind of shy. Like, how do you encourage your players to think outside the box or maybe like reward them, incentivize them to do stuff like this, to like not just stab them with their sword, but maybe, to grab the like stab this guy and then hit him in the head with the hilt or something like that, you know?
I mean,
there's a lot of things you could do. maybe they walk into a tavern and they see a bar fight going on, and it's just not a fist fight. Like one dude grabs a chair and just literally hurls it across the table,
Right.
and it just blasts somebody.
Right, and I mean, you
Or
could.
they flip the table and then they shove it across the room,
Right.
and it's just like a bull in a china shop.
Yeah. I mean, you could also enforce, if they're in a location maybe that has rules against fighting to the death, brawling would be a good alternative.
Oh yeah.
So if your party's got people getting on their nerves, or there's somebody always trying to thwart their efforts, okay, they don't have to fight them sword and shield or with magic. You could just go in there and brawl somebody. Maybe tune them up. Maybe that'll teach the NPC a lesson. You know what I mean?
Yeah, limit them. And even if it's if two players are brawling, maybe an NPC throws like a branch or something, and somebody threw a branch, and you want to grab it?
You want to grab that? Yeah, I do.
I was gonna say that's it. Oh yeah, because you could have an NPC hand it to you, and be like, "Get in there" or something like that. I was like, "What? With what?" But you get tagged. You're tagging you in. No. One of the thoughts too is you could have that situation where like you're like breaking into an area. You know, we're talking a lot about bar fights, but I mean it could be like you're in a dungeon and like the mage or whatever that's casting spells. All of a sudden you got him like. You catch him off guard in his alchemy room. Maybe he takes a table and flips it towards you.
Yeah.
So now you just got pinned by a table, and then like some acid vials broke on the ground or something, or you could have like the enemy do that to them. So they're like, oh, maybe I could do that too. And give them a taste of their own medicine.
Cut the chain that's holding the chandelier.
I mean, it
dropping on somebody.
A good place to use improvised weapons is breaking out of jail.
Oh
the
yeah.
characters need to have their equipment. So think about them being in a high security jail. What are they walking around? They're seeing sconces. They're seeing candles. Maybe some hand wraps or things of that nature. Okay, so they're walking around with iron face plates that they're just hitting guys with instead of their weapons.
And that's something too. And that's really on the DM. Describe your environment. Tell the players what do they see around me. And I know that could be hard, especially in the midst of combat, because you're keeping track of a lot. But take the time to stop and explain what's going on, or mention. And something I had read a while ago that it was a good tip. It was every time that a round goes around and the players are about to do stuff, give a quick recap of what just happened and where everybody's at.
Yeah.
And then you could kind of mention, when you walk into the room, mention a couple different things so they have an idea of what's laying around. And then, just like you forget stuff, they're caught up in the moment. They might forget some of the minor details you said. It doesn't hurt to remind them. No one's going to be upset if you remind them that the chandelier's hanging by a thread, or there's a tar pit that's sizzling over there. Oh, okay. I'm going to go.
Yeah, or I mean, if there's an item on you say you have an NPC that's prone, but he's really hard. You've had a really hard time. Well, now maybe there's a bottle of something next to his head or something. You can just boot it into his head instead of having to go right on top of him. You can.
Or if it's the fighter's turn, and maybe another thing, this just came to mind. Let's say your archer. Give me an archer name for an archer.
Praecusis.
You're freaking all right. So let's say Praecusis is just shooting horribly, which is not like him, but he's just heading off.
But it is like me.
Yeah. So let's say you're shooting at the guy, and you just are just horrible aim. You're doing horrible, and you're you can tell that his player's getting kind of frustrated. He's getting frustrated out of the game because he's the dice suck. Anyways, well, let's say it goes to your turn, and you're playing a paladin or a fighter or whatever, and you're up close, bashing this guy. And something the DM could mention is you look to your right and you see Paratissimus's broken arrow on the ground next to you. Or if you're fighting and your sword breaks, you could still use that. You could still, just because a weapon broke, you could still or use stuff from the other players to your advantage. So
anytime, even if say one of the other party members is down and you need that extra damage, okay? Maybe you're carrying a shield, maybe you're a battle mage, but you need an extra hand weapon, an offhand weapon.
Yeah.
And they're down, you can pick that up. All those items are available to use by the players.
Yeah.
You just have to make sure they know they're around.
And give them those bonuses when they do overexert themselves. Give them inspiration, give them friggin' whatever, Or some players could I set my shield on fire before we go? Could I pour and then, sure, that's an extra D4 fire damage. Something just give them the extra Yeah.
So yeah, definitely encourage, because it just makes it more fun.
Oh yeah, for sure. That definitely thinking outside the box really brings a good life
It
vibe
does.
to your game, and that's
It does.
so. Yeah. Either way, those are the thoughts on that.
Yep.
Alrighty, tune in next time.